It was an idea that arose from a couple's bike ride in Belgium in 1988, and it's now one of the largest craft breweries in the United States. We all know it, and tonight we'll find out if we all love it. I'm Nikoli Williams, and this is Don't Worry, Beer Happy. New Belgium is Fort Collins, my name. Hello and welcome everybody to tonight's show. I'm joined by a special beer friend, a special friend of mine, Justin Lujan. How are you doing tonight?
Doing well, Nikolai. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I cannot complain. It's great to finally have you on. I mean, we had a lot of adventures, I guess, in the beer world
Yeah,
when we lived in
you could say
Maine
that. Yeah,
many
you could
years
say that.
ago.
70 plus breweries in like a 7 or 8 month period or something like
Yeah, I
that.
mean that was our
Yeah.
that was our weekend. Is let's
hmm
get done with work so we can figure out what few breweries we're gonna hit over the
Oh
weekend.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so what was your favorite brewery that we ever hit?
I get asked that a lot, and I think my go-to is Mass Landing, just because of they still have my favorite beer, which is like Gunner's Daughter. Um,
Yeah,
but
it,
there's a lot of memorable ones too. I think the most memorable one is that one where we went to kind of that guy's random garage shed in the middle of nowhere.
what was the name of that? Was that
I don't even remember.
man? Yeah, well, because I was driving that night, right, and we were like,
Dude, that was quite the adventure because I remember getting lost on the way. It was pitch black, right? This is in the middle of like the wilderness of Maine, pitch black. And when we get there, apparently this guy's only open like one day a month or something like that. Um, and we get in there, get our beer, and start sitting down, and it's just like his local friends, and we just sit in a giant circle, and we just talk with all of his
well,
close friends that
yeah,
night.
I mean it was fun. I've never had an experience like that at any other brewery, that's for sure.
Definitely the most memorable one for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I'll try and figure out what the name of that was, and I'll let you know because I don't remember
Mhm.
either. But tonight, we are heading to Colorado, and we're gonna try some new Belgium stuff. So all the stuff that I have comes from a variety pack that you may or may not be able to find around you. Justin was not able to find everything; he had to do some singling out,
Even though I'm in Colorado.
even though he's in Colorado. Go figure. But let me show you the beers we have today. So we have Mountain Time, which is a lager, and this is the one we're going to try first. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you know why we're trying the lager first?
I assume it's the least bitter of the pack,
Yeah, you
least
already know
amount
all
of
this. You
IBUs.
are a beer expert, And the second one
Oh
we're doing, everyone probably has had this if you've had any New Belgium beer, but that's Fat
yeah.
Tire. Third, we're gonna have Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA. This is the highest rated one on Untappd out of all of them that we have here tonight. And the fourth one I'm gonna try, but Justin was not able to get this, so you'll only have my opinion on it. So take that with a grain of salt, and that's what the can looks like. Out of these four cans, what can do you think looks the best?
Yeah, I was a big fan of Mountain Time. So like simple but clean, I like the
Yeah,
colors of it.
yeah, it's really
Um,
clean. I kind of like that it's sort of geometric.
right.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's Yeah, I mean, it's a good looking can. So I'm gonna go ahead and shift us over to the Mountain Time screen, and I'm gonna open mine up since we have a lot of beers. I'm not gonna waste too much time,
Yep.
and I'm gonna pour it. So what do you get off the top? Anything? Does it smell strong?
No,
Do you get
smells pretty
any?
light to me
Yeah.
off the first sniff.
So yeah, it's always interesting to see if I can pour into a mason jar. I think I did okay. It's not beer clean. I can see some bubbles sticking, but it's okay. Yeah, the aroma for me, it's very clean. It doesn't smell much different than one of your domestic macro brews. I think
Yeah.
it's probably going to be better just because I expect more from New Belgium than I do like Coors or something. But
Yep. Yep.
yeah, so this one has a 3.42 rating on Untapped, and the vital stats. Again, as everyone knows, if you've been here before, I just guess on the SRM by sight. I don't actually know what it is. I don't have anything to test it, and it's not usually readily available online. But 1 to 2, very pale. I mean, you can see through it. Even in the camera, I can see the flag, which, by the way, was a gift from Justin. That's where that guy came from. Do you remember how you gave that to me?
Was it it happened to be the weekend of my wedding?
It was not.
It
So
was not, okay.
yeah, so what happened was whenever I was moving to Nashville, I stayed with you for that one night, and I was like, "Oh man, I really like that flag," and you were like, you said something, and
Oh, right. I remember this now,
"Oh,
yeah.
well, you want it?" I was like, sure."
Yeah, it's just hanging in our house, didn't get the wife's approval, just gave it to you.
So yeah, it has a nice home though. It gets featured all the time right behind me.
Nice.
So
Nice.
it's
Looks
right
good.
there with Mando and Baby
Hmm.
Yoda. I won't spoil his name if you don't know, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take a sip of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know I was reading the vital statistics. So yeah, 0 IBUs, 4.4% alcohol. Definitely tastes like 0 IBUs.
It's very, very easy to drink. Very easy to drink. Like I could pound that pretty easily.
I almost don't notice a difference between this
Right.
and
Exactly, yeah.
oh, I just knocked stuff off my desk and this. So yeah, it's not offensive at all. I mean, I think obviously that's what they're going for. Very easy to drink, crisp and refreshing. Something that you
Yep.
could bring to the mountaintops with you and
Well, I think
drink.
that's what you're supposed to do, like in the mountains, where you're supposed to relax, have something easy to do, kind of sit by the fire type of thing, something you can just drink casually.
Yeah, and this would definitely be good by a fire. I think. I think the can kind of makes me feel like I want to be in snow. Maybe it's the white can, but then,
Yeah.
if I was in too much snow, I don't know how I'd like it. I kind of got my
Yep.
fill of snow in Maine. You get any? Because there's some loggers now. The very first show we did High Life,
Okay.
and High Life had some sort of crackery kind of bready, like that kind of flavor profile. I'm not really even getting that from this. There's not too much sweetness
There's really
underneath.
not much like flavor going on here at all, from what I get.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird because I was expecting there would be something because a lot of times you can
Yeah.
taste some of the malt underneath, but I really can't.
Especially for a lager. Usually the lagers do have some sort of, taste to them, but
Mhm. I mean, it's not bad for sure. I think that this is probably what I would lean toward if I were to get a lager, just because I don't want to have the kind of iffy flavors that they put in some of these domestics.
yeah.
I think this is exactly what they were going for. Super clean. Um,
Yeah. Very crisp.
yeah. Yeah. So in chat we have High Life is great. Yes, Dan. I know that is your that is your favorite. So look, it's really good. I mean, I still have some in the fridge. I don't know if that says I don't like it that much because it's been in the fridge for so long, or I keep it on hand, which I guess you can look at it how you want. But yeah, Mountain Time is pretty plain. Yeah, Gabe, have you had this like recently? I know when I was looking that you'd had some of these. Yeah, so where would I put this one on the flavor wheel? So there's no hop flavor at all. Like there's no bitterness, there's no fruitiness. I
Yeah.
mean, I think whenever I taste it, I mean, we're probably leaning toward like the bread, the cracker. It's just very light. Um, it's kind of like I say, a saltine, unsalted saltine. It's very plain. That there's not much going on, and maybe if we kind of let it linger for a second, we would taste a little bit of sweetness. But I didn't really get much of that. Did you get this variety pack, Gabe? It was like a white or beige kind of box. I'm still in shock that we couldn't find the same variety pack, and I'm also in shock at how many variety packs there are. Like,
I know.
like
Crazy.
the one that you saw was like an orange one, which that one had what was it? The citrus had some citrus IPA that I thought looked really good, but
Yeah, I thought it looked good too, and I actually thought about buying it just individually.
mm,
But ended up not.
yeah, I couldn't find that specific beer individually. I could find every other beer in every other variety pack that we talked about, except for
Yeah.
the citrus beer, and I'm just so annoyed that that we couldn't find the exact same thing. I
I
thought for
know.
sure New Belgium would be something we could both find very easily. I mean, you especially.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger craft breweries in the country. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
mean they were bought out recently, I think, but they're like fourth or something in production.
Yeah.
I think it's really big. Um, let's see, what makes this one different than domestic lagers like Bud or Coors or PBR or something? For me, so it is still kind of cold because it's the first one we did and they're still warming up, but I don't think there's as much of the sort of off flavors that you get in some of the other ones, especially as it warms up. I mean, I've had these sitting out for maybe 15, 20-ish minutes or maybe a little bit more at this point, and I'm not getting any of that kind of like, underneath. It's still like, oh yeah, this is really crisp and clean.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still very light. I mean, I think it feels even lighter than some of those beers, honestly. Um, I don't know what the ABV is of those, but I know it's close. But to me, it just feels like it's not very effervescent. I don't have the CO2 kind of biting my tongue. It
Hmm.
doesn't feel as carbonated, maybe, and it has sort of less off-putting flavors as it warms up, maybe. Where would you put this on a scale? So untapped scale. I know you don't use it too much these days, but has a 3.42 community rating.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that's pretty reasonable. I probably wouldn't go much higher than that. Maybe a 3.5, 3.6, maybe. Um, it's something I can probably drink often, but I think it'd probably get boring pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna be exactly like you. I'm gonna copy. I gave you a 3.6, so I'm gonna make mine a 3.6 also. I think I think that it is a very good representative of like the American lager style,
Yeah.
but it's not my favorite style. So it's hard for me to go too much higher, just because I'm like I don't really like it that much. But 3.6 is about my average rating on Untapped.
Okay.
So I feel like it's at least fair to go 3.6. And I am gonna check this in. I'm gonna tag you, so maybe we'll get you back into checking things in.
Yeah. I should never stopped. It's too late now.
You know, uh, you can always start again. I mean, it's always sitting
Yeah.
there for
Yeah.
you. Uh, so Gabe, I know at one point we were talking about uh, adding like this show as a check-in location. And it's a very convoluted process. I found out to add a location on Untapped because you have to add it to like Foursquare or something, and you can either make it public or private. But if you make it private, only you can check it in, and if you make it public, it can be deleted, and you have to like put an actual location. So I don't know. I feel like there should be an easier way to add locations. So it's kind of annoying, but yeah. One thing I wanted to mention. So I have a couple props here that I'll start off with, and we'll get into the story of New Belgium a little bit more, kind of talk about them, and maybe Colorado craft beer scene in general as we go move along. But a lot of you guys probably recognize this citrus lip balm that I have. So I've never opened it. This is antique at this point. You know, it's a chapstick, 15 SPF, beer lips is what it says on it. You know, I have kept this for maybe, I don't know, 7-ish years. Is that when I went to beer school? I think I have some other New Belgium stuff. But I don't know what it was. Maybe if someone else in chat has any New Belgium stuff that they got at the same time, you could tell me. Maybe only Robbie was there because I think I got that one night when I tried a lot of New Belgium sours or barrel-aged sours or something. And I did want to point out, I know I showed you this pre-show, but I did open my untapped mail, and here is the magnet that they gave us this year, which I think it's really cool. You know, it sort of looks like Colorado to me, very outdoorsy, naturey. Obviously, it's not winter there because there's no snow, but a nice magnet nonetheless. So if you're an insider on Untapped, you will get one of those for free. So I'm looking over here. Does it taste like 4.4? Like I literally don't taste alcohol in this at all.
It's anything. Like I said, it's pretty flavorless, you know.
And I mean, I know 4.4 is not that much, but it's like there is literally no hint of alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
At
give
all.
this to me, and I'd be like, this must be a 0%er, you know, it just has the flavor of beer.
Yeah, it's the Heineken 0.0.
So I mean, this is like very easy to drink. Like I'm almost normally during the show I don't really finish my glasses. I have to, you know, continue after to get them down. But this one's really simple. Do you know anything about New Belgium in terms of like how they started?
The brewery.
Yeah.
I know they started. It was a husband and wife. I think they were riding a bike actually in Belgium. I assume.
Yep.
And had the idea of starting a brewery based off of, you know, the Belgian beer flavors they got while they were there. I think that's about all I know. I know they're in Fort Collins.
Yeah, I think they're also in Asheville, North Carolina, maybe.
Yeah, I think they made one probably about 5 years ago. I think I saw in North Carolina. Yeah.
So expanding still, but yeah, I mean, I think that's a good intro. I'm going to save the next part of the story, which the question is for you to ponder on, and maybe this will give it away. But do you know what beer is the product of those flavors? You don't have to say anything yet, but so whenever they came back to America, they put a beer together that was supposed to embody these flavors from Belgium. And if anyone in chat wants to guess too, do be my guest, and I will reveal it as soon as I finish this. I will say, I was on their website recently, just kind of doing a little research for the show. They have a very nice history part of their website. I don't know if you've been on it, but
they do. I was actually scrolling through earlier today as well.
It's like they have the years and the months. It's like, oh, here's something that was big in our history that happened. So, if you haven't checked it out, definitely do check it out because it is it's really nice. It's not just like a paragraph like some of these places like put on the website. So we have not Fat Tire question mark. I'd guess Fat Tire, but that'd be too obvious maybe.
Yeah, Fat Tire would be my guess, but yeah.
All right, so we have Fat Tire as a guess. You put your final answers in chat, and then I'm gonna finish this, and I'll tell you. So, if you'd guessed Fat Tire, Voodoo Ranger, that's an interesting one. Yeah, so if you'd guessed Fat Tire, you would have been correct. Yeah, Fat Tire is obvious, maybe, but it's the beer that they came up with. I don't know how similar it tastes today compared to originally. I would be interested to know that. But what do you think of Fat Tire? You've had Fat Tire, I'm assuming, before.
Yeah, it's been a while, but
Yeah, I haven't had one in a while either. It is the only one tonight that I've had, actually. I've had none of the others. Fat Tire was always like an upscale party beer, in my opinion.
Yeah,
It was
I can
like
see that.
if you went to a party in college and they had Fat Tire there, you knew they'd spent some money on on the beer, because they didn't go full scale natty lights or something.
Sure.
Well, I've never had the hazy Voodoo Ranger. So this juicy hazy IPA I've never had. I've had the original one, I think. Yeah, I mean, you look. I've had the original Voodoo Ranger. I'm pretty sure, but yeah, well, it is definitely big bang for the buck with 7.5% on that one. If it's the same, I don't know if it's the same as that. All right, well, Fat Tire, 3.52 on Untappd, so that's slightly higher, right? zero point 0.1 higher or 0.08. I don't even. What was the last one even rated? I don't even remember.
0.42, I think,
Okay,
or
so it's
0.44, something like that.
yeah, so it's 0.1 or less higher, but it is higher rated. I'm assuming it's more checked in also, so I don't know
Right.
if that helps to stabilize the rating. I guess the SRM between 15 and 20 because it's kind of copper colored, so it is an amber ale, kind of reddish, but not really sure where to put it on the SRM chart, so that's where I put it at. 22 IBU, so we should expect some bitterness, but not too much. 22 is very low on the scale, and then 5.2% ABV, a little bit higher than the last one. Just off the nose, because I've never really tried this in a analyzing context, I guess. I had it a long time ago. I mean, we may have tried it in beer school. I think we may have done like a Fat Tire fresh and then like a Fat Tire that had been sitting for 6 months. I'm not 100% sure if that's the beer that we used, but I thought it was. Yeah, off the nose, I'm not really getting too much. I mean, it's definitely a
I'm
little
getting some.
sweeter.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say some fruitier smells than the previous one.
Yeah, I think it's very tied to the malt.
Yeah, a
Um,
little sweeter. Yeah.
yeah, I think. I mean, obviously, you can tell that there's a little more something in here because of the color. It's a higher ABV, so it had more sugar in it to begin with. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of smell. I don't know where I'd put this on the flavor chart. I still don't get much hop aroma. Maybe there is a tiny bit in the back, but
Yeah.
it's definitely not the focus of the amber. And as I would expect, I mean, ambers are very malt forward. So hopefully it's better than I remember it because my memory of it's kind of it's like good beer compared to other um, like lager beers that you would get at a party, but like I never really loved Fat Tire, so
Right.
I'm kind of concerned that I'm not gonna like it as much. So I'm gonna try it. Yeah, I mean, very thin. I think
Yeah.
there is more of a flavor, but I don't know that I like it more than the Mountain Time, honestly.
Right.
Um, it does have some recognizable sweetness. I don't tend to like ambers as much as other beers in general, but it's just something about the flavor. Like they just have something distinct in there that I'm just like kind of iffy on. I don't know what it is. I've never been able to put my finger on it, but I don't know. What do you think? Is it all that you remembered and more, or no?
Um, it's definitely got some stronger flavor than the Mountain Time for sure. Um, Still not overpowering. Uh, but yeah, I feel like it, I don't know, hits you then goes kind of like flat in the flavor profile. So
Mm-hmm.
like it hits you right away, but then it kind of eases out.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely no aftertaste in my opinion. It's
Right.
like there, and then when you swallow on the finish, there's just nothing. There's no
Right.
alcohol flavor, so it's not like bad. It's a decent upfront flavor, I think. Let's see. What does the can describe? Let's see. How does the can describe this? If it does, I don't know that it does. Mine doesn't.
Yeah, mine doesn't either.
But the description of it on Untappd, which I would highly recommend you use, Dan, is Fat Tire Amber is the easy drinking amber ale born in Colorado from New Belgium Brewing Company, a certified B Corp. After nearly 3 decades of striving to reduce our impact, we are proud to produce America's first. Oh yeah, I was going to mention this too, that this is the first certified carbon neutral beer.
Yeah, I saw something where they had at one point in time the largest solar array in the state, I think,
Mm-hmm.
powering, I guess, all their brewing processes. But
Yeah, and so that's a product of being a B Corp. So the B Corp is a corporation that kind of has a mission that's not necessarily only to make money. And so they've been very focused on trying to reduce their impact while also maintaining the level of quality and innovation that they've had since the
Right.
80s. So I'm looking at my check-ins here. It looks like I've been pretty consistent on this. I had it, or at least I checked it in twice in 2016 and then once in 2017.
Okay.
It did go up. I started out at 3.25. That was my first ever rating of it, which I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that I want to go back down that low, but I don't think I'm going to be moving upwards at all. My rating on it the past couple times has been 3.5.
Okay. So right there with the consensus.
Yeah, I think a lot of times these kind of underwhelming beers have decent averages, but I don't know
Yeah.
why. Like
I will say, for being like an average tasting beer, I think it's a pretty solid flagship.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a good beer that's not, too hard to drink. That people will recognize pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely recognizable. Everyone that I know knows Fat Tire. It's
Right. Yeah.
You may not love it, but everyone knows it. I mean, the color combination is iconic. I
Yep.
think the bottom of the can is pretty close. It's a little bit off, but yeah, but that blue and orangey reddish color, very, very iconic. Yeah, I don't know. I think when I think of ambers, Fat Tire is probably what I think of. I don't really know of any other ambers by name necessarily off the top of my head. I'm trying to think right now, and I really don't know. Like what
Yeah.
we really didn't have any in Maine. I don't think ambers were a thing in Maine.
Not much. Yeah. Yeah. The New England IPAs.
Right.
Those are pretty popular.
Which on an episode last no, it was probably like 3 episodes ago, maybe 2. I don't remember. Anyway, we did cover hazies. Yeah, so it's 4 episodes ago, I guess. So we covered hazies and the fact that the name was changed to the Hazy IPA by the Brewers Association beer judging guideline people. So the New England IPA thing, you could still say it, everyone's gonna know what you mean, but yeah, it's episode 3.
So are you saying the New England IPAs are hazies now? Like they're pretty much the same thing?
Yeah, so the style is hazy.
Okay.
Uh,
Did not know that.
yeah, well, so you can see, well, they use Juicy Haze. I mean, they've always been kind of the same thing, right? It's just been a difference of how they classify it there's not really a big difference between even an IPA and a hazy IPA, other than the fact that a lot of times they dry hop hazies and they don't filter them. So that's why you get sort of the sediment that hangs around. So when I've never seen this one, really, except in some pictures, but I do expect that this will sort of be opaque-ish.
Yeah.
So what's your final score on Fat Tire?
I'm thinking I'm going to be right around that number that the consensus is at. I think I'm at like a 3.5 for this one.
So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna keep my rating at 3.5. I'd never had the last one, but yeah, I don't see how I can give it more than a 3.5 in good faith.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
3.52 is close enough to 3.5, but if anything, I would rate it a little bit lower than 3.5. But I feel like 3.5 is what I did rate it. It's still fine, but it's not. It's not gonna be my go-to, right? Like it's.
Right.
I'm not gonna drink Fat Tire just because, in general, just because I'm not a huge fan of the style. So. You're surprised Mountain Time was higher than Fat Tire? Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to be said about the lager being so clean. Like, it was a very clean lager.
Very, very crisp. Yeah.
It's something that, yeah, you could literally sit here and just drink like water. So, whereas the amber, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the amber flavor. I don't like something in the malt profile of ambers. I don't know what it is. I don't know what kind it is. I don't know. I have no idea what it is. Maybe one day I'll figure it out. But there's just something that I'm not a huge fan of, and so I'm kind of like on them. But did you know, New Belgium, they were all employee owned, I guess, before they got bought out more recently. I'm assuming at least that means that it's not employee owned anymore. But in like 2012 or 2011 or something, I saw this on their website. They're all employee owned, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't think
I thought that was cool. Yeah.
And it's kind of like
I think Dogfish Head was like that before they just got bought out. Was it last year or the year before? I think they were employee owned. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
I'm trying to think. I don't think they were all employee owned necessarily, because they did still have I don't remember his name, but I was in LA, Maine's LA though, not Los Angeles. So Lewiston, Auburn, and I was at Craft Brew Underground, I think, and the Dogfish Head guys had been going on a boat tour of the eastern seaboard. So they had just been like cruising up the coast saying, hey, we're going to stop in on this city, we're going to come drink and give away stuff, and then we're going to go on to the next city. And it was pretty cool to meet the guys, and that's where I learned that, what is the name of it? One of their beers you can develop film in, and they were taking pictures, right, on some older camera, and they were developing the film in the beer exclusively.
That's pretty cool. Sounds like a waste of beer, though.
I mean, yeah, but it's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I really like Dogfish Head, but I didn't like the fact that they sold out to Boston.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just always feel like it's a risk whenever you do that, because you don't know if they're gonna maintain control like they did before, even though they say they will. It's like you never know.
Yeah.
Maine's LA is the equivalent of Tampa Bay. I call myself the Bay Area. Well, it's true. That's true. But the people in Tampa Bay, though, they can call themselves the Tampa Bay Area. I said Maine's LA, so I didn't just say LA. I mean, if I was in Maine, I would have just said LA. But since
they would know.
Yeah, it's at least some people would. I don't know. I mean, maybe some people don't call it that, but I always thought it was interesting to call it that. Did you remember going to Lewiston, Auburn?
Yep.
Do you remember when we went to to the mountains?
The
I
mountains to
sliced my
the
finger open.
man. I don't remember that.
No, okay. Well, we were gonna go skiing, but remember they didn't have boots for me.
I do remember that now. You sliced your finger on the mountain as we were skiing down, I think, right, or snowboarding
Yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah. Well, because I had done so much research on how to ski, right? And you were like, "We're not doing lessons. We're just going." I was like, "All right, well, we'll see how it goes. I don't know." But I had not prepared for snowboarding at all.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I put the snowboard on, tried it out. These kids that were around were acting like it was nothing. Like I,
10 years old, 10, 12 years old, just flying past us.
I remember the lift. You got on the lift right before me, and then I was on the seat after you. I remember you got off and you had fallen at the top, and then I got off, but I can't stop. I don't know how it works because I only have one foot in the snowboard because that's how all the 10-year-olds are doing it. I'm like, if they're doing it, it
Yeah,
must.
follow
Yeah,
the
it
kids.
must be how you do it, right? And so I only had one foot in it, and I hopped off that thing, and I tripped over you, and I couldn't move. I couldn't get up. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, we were embarrassing ourselves on that mountain.
It was like the bad part is that the bunny slope that we were going to was like right next to the skills slope, right? Like the skills slope went here, and the bunny slope was like around this side. I remember I couldn't get my foot in the snowboard. It was like I would either fall over or just sink down, or like just something would happen, right? I almost fell down the skill slope while I was trying to put the snowboard on. It was not a good time doing that.
I think we went. Didn't we end up only going down once and we just left? Paid for the lift ticket and all our rentals. Fell down the mountain and then just left.
Yes, look, it might still be on there, but so how I got me like a snow coat and pants and all that kind of stuff, and I had the lift ticket on my coat. I'm gonna check after the show and see if it's still on there, but I know it was on there for years at the very least, if it's not still on there right now. Oh man. I'm assuming we went and got beer after that. I don't know, but
yeah, I can't remember.
what was that
I'm
mountain
sure
called?
we stopped somewhere. That's what I'm trying to remember right now.
Was it like Happy something, or? I wish there was someone from May in the chat because they might be able to tell us. But
I gotta do a quick Google now.
yeah, I just can't remember what that one was called. But the better of the snowboarding areas. So we went to another one. Do you remember that one?
Was that Is that the one where we went to the brewery? It was like off season, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I remember getting there like probably like 30 minutes before they closed.
And we still got wings and beer though.
We did get wings and beer, yep.
I don't even remember what that one's called.
That one was called Sugarloaf. I remember that one.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Well, I went back there for a beer festival.
The Sugarloaf.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it was must have been 2019, I guess. But they had like a Canadian beer box, and the funny part is they had all the like main brewers around this like sidewalk-ish area, so it was like a paved concrete sidewalk looking thing out back, right? And there were supposed to be Canadian brewers there also, but my friend and I did not know where they were at all. And finally I was like, oh, we are the dumbest people on the face of this flat earth, right? There's a big like white van box thing. It's a Canadian beer box in the back, but it was like turned the other way. And so there was like 30 or 40 taps at least, maybe more, of just different beer from Canada, and I'm like, well, we only have 45 minutes, but we have to try them. I mean, so I was going up, getting some. He was going up, getting some. We were just trying everything. At this point, we were like, okay, we tried to sip. We got to move on. My stomach's starting to hurt because we're just pounding these things. So it was like sip, rate, pour out. And we got through most of them. That's for sure. Yeah, I do miss Beer Fest. Beer Fests were fun. I think the only one we went to was that Ales and Tales thing, right?
Yeah, it was on a pier or something like that, right?
In Portland.
Mm-hmm.
It was at it was the same place where.
It was right next to Bissell Brothers.
Yeah. It's the same place where the normal Beer Fest things are held. I've been there like 3 or 4 times for Beer Fest. It's a really good location. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Want to move on to the next one?
We sure can.
I haven't finished Fat Tire, but I can't right now. It's too much for me. I will finish it later though. So this one that we're gonna try is the Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA. So like I said, I've never had this one.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever tried this one either. And the only thing I could find was a nice tall boy.
So you got a lot of it. Yeah, I mean I have a normal can, so I don't quite have as much as you. I don't know. What is it? 16 ounces in those? Or what's in those?
I'm trying to. 19.2 ounces.
19.2. That's
yeah.
It's a lot. This is only 12. It is very light in color. It's lighter than I expected, actually. I'm not doing an amazing job pouring it though. The head on this thing is atrocious. So. Like when I say atrocious, this is one. So I think it was last week I did one of the best pours I've ever done on the show of Old Rasputin. This might be one of the worst pours. Now, granted, it's hard to pour into mason jars, but I'm going to show you this, okay? So just know, even people who are very into beer and know a lot about it don't always get a perfect pour. Now, a normal good-sized head, now it does have good head retention. This head is not falling much at all, but a normal good pour, you're wanting like a ½ inch to an inch. This guy is looking at like 2 inches plus. You ready for this?
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's what we got going for us. Now, I did mention on a previous episode that you could take oil from your head, right, and you could make it go down faster, or any oils basically will kind of make the foam fall, but I'll just let it kind of sit. Do you remember, I'm sure I've talked about this at some point with you, but maybe not. Do you remember how much foam is beer? Like what percentage of it?
No.
Does anybody in chat know what percentage beer this large foam head is?
Go for your head, are you still?
25%. That is correct, yeah. So this is 25% beer. So if you ever see like at a bar or something, I've seen a lot of bartenders do this, and this is not like a knock on them necessarily, but they will, pour the beer and it'll be real foamy. So they'll just pour it out, get you some more, and it's like, I'm fine with it because I get a full beer, but they are losing a lot of beer that way because it is 25% beer, right? So if you pour out a quarter of a glass every single time, after 8 beers, that's a full beer you've done poured out, and that'll add up. So I think it's good for people who are in the industry to learn how to pour these beers. And if I had a pint glass tonight, it would obviously be a lot easier. But is what it is. I'm not too concerned because I'm going to drink it anyway, so it'll fall back down into beer. Off this one, I get a pretty big scent. It's very earthy. I feel like
it's very hoppy to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like I'm in the beginning of a garden or like a plant store. Like I just walk in, it's like, oh yeah, there are plants all around.
Yeah.
I don't really get a lot of bitterness from the aroma. maybe a little bit, but you know, this one is only 42 IBUs, which I thought was interesting, especially compared to the last beer, because the last beer is like 75, which it's pretty bitter. I mean, that's
The winter IPA you're talking about.
yeah, the winter IPA,
Yeah.
which makes sense. A lot of winter beers are more bitter. Uh, I honestly don't know why. I don't really like more bitter in winter for no reason. Like it's just I guess that's what people think people like. They're
Yeah.
fine. Like I don't mind it, but my brain doesn't go, oh, it's winter. I want something more bitter. Bitter beers for the bitter cold. Yeah, that's one way to look at it, I guess.
Yeah, warms you up quicker, I guess. Huh?
Well, I don't know if the bitterness does, but the higher alcohol content does for sure. That is really. I feel like it is almost as crisp and drinkable as the Mountain Time.
Yeah, it's very easy to drink for an IPA. Usually they're hitting you in the face sometimes, but
And this one, I don't really get as much of a fruity characteristic. There is a little bit in the hops, but I feel like it's just a normal beer flavor, and then you add on some like earthy, hoppy flavor with a little bit of the fruitness. I don't even know if fruitness is a word, but it is now. With a little bit of the fruit flavor, and that's kind of this beer.
you get a little bit of like a spice type of flavor towards the end of it.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you get that.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
it's very subtle, but it's like you get like that fruity taste at first, and then that little spice like kicks in very at the end there.
right. Yeah, I wonder. Let me see if they say anything about. No. So New Belgium doesn't put descriptions on their cans, apparently. But I will go to Untapped and see what they say about it.
This one just says IPA brewed with spice, so there you go.
Packed with bright tropical aromas and brilliant citrusy flavors, this unfiltered IPA wraps up with a pleasantly smooth finish. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is a very smooth IPA. I think you definitely can't tell that it's 7.5%, and I believe that was a comment that I saw. Yeah, super good, definitely juicy, definitely hazy, and not too bitter. Can't believe it's a 7.5%.
That's a good point. Yeah,
I
I'm sure
think
you can hit one or two of these, and you'll be feeling it pretty easily. I can imagine you could probably put them down quicker than you would imagine.
yeah, I think when we compare this to like a stout or something that is high ABV also, or other ABV beers, usually those feel heavier. Like a stout to me,
Yeah,
whenever I have a stout that's like 7 to 10%, it's like, oh, I can't drink more than just one. It's just like, that's just too much. Whereas this, and I think most hazy IPAs are like this, you can really drink a lot of them uh, with no problem.
yeah,
It,
yeah. I've noticed that too.
there's something about them that, and maybe it's the citrusy and the fruity flavors in it that kind of help you drink it. Maybe it's sort of like when you add uh, flavor packet to water. It's kind of fruity most of the time or citrusy, and you just don't really feel it as much on your palate. It's not as impactful as some of the dark, roasty, rich, chocolatey kind of beers. Not to say those are bad. I mean, yeah, like Mass Landing, like you said, I've talked about that many occasions on this show. I don't know if it was last week, maybe it was last week. It was one of the past few weeks, though, when I talked about. I've had Gunner's Daughter, I've had Imperial Gunners, Nitro Gunners, Vanilla and Chocolate Gunners, Marshmallow, Coconut. Like I've had so many different Gunner's Daughters, and they're all five. Every single one.
Yeah,
It's just an amazing beer, and I miss it quite a bit.
yeah, yep.
Uh, I think the southern part of Maine really is the big dog in the beer space in Maine. I mean, obviously there's some good stuff around the state, but when you get to like Portland, Saco, that kind of area, it's like this is this is really where the good beer that I want is at. You know,
I agree. Yeah. Yep.
like I remember Barreled Souls is amazing.
I remember hitting Barrel Souls. That was, I think, again, we would hit like three or four in a day, three or four breweries in a day. And I remember that being like the last one of the night. And
I got all barrel aged beers. I could not drink
and
them.
I remember, yeah, I remember those beers had a very like it was like taking shots. Like that's how strong they tasted to me. It was just like crazy high, APVs.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
I mean, normally I finish my tasters too, but we went there and I was like, it's barreled souls. I'm getting barrel aged. It just makes
right.
sense. And I want to say all four of my uh, beers on the flight were like 18% or 16% or something
Yeah,
ridiculous.
something crazy. Yeah.
So, but I would try it, and especially since we'd been having beer throughout the day. I mean, a normal day would probably be like we go to a brewery, then we go eat lunch at a brew pub, and then we drive somewhere, and then we have more beer, and then we start heading home, and maybe stop a place on the way home.
Yeah.
And it's just like your body at that point is just tired, right? And at
Yep.
this point, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you've had beer today. You don't need this like infusion into your blood of just straight
hmm
alcohol. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been back there since though. I went and had some really good non-barrel aged stuff. I mean, they had
Mm.
this one. Hopefully, I can have them on the show very soon. But Nick, I went to some breweries with while my time was ending in Maine, and we hit Barreled Souls and had something called Superman Punch, which is really good. It was like a sort of sour fruit beer kind of thing. It was like really red.
Yeah.
It was uh, definitely an interesting beer. But yeah, Barreled Souls is really good. I can't remember what is the other place that they had. The dude was like making axes or something. They had like Nintendo games also.
Oh.
I Man, I swear my brain, my memory has been failing on a lot of this
We
stuff.
played like old school Madden there, right? I think.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That wasn't in Portland though. Wasn't that somewhere up in north? Wasn't that in Bang? No, it wasn't Bangor.
No, this one they've changed their name since we went though, and
Oh,
it was
okay.
Banded, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So yeah, Banded. I really like their Roush beer, and they have some other good beers there too. But it's in Biddeford, Maine.
Sure.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, there's so many good times in Maine. It is definitely a beer state, which,
Yeah, I'll have to come back and do an episode on that.
well, yeah, I do want to have a Maine episode. So if you are interested in being on the episode, I do have someone who is planning on shipping some beers at some point from Maine.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know.
So,
I'm down.
okay. So I think that'd be great to just have a Maine specific episode. But it does
Yep.
lead me to the question of how's Colorado's craft brew scene. It's like the fourth largest in terms of number of craft breweries in the U.S. I think the only ones above it are California by a long shot. Then you have New York and somewhere else, and then it's Colorado.
Okay. It's definitely a very lively here. Pretty much every time we go to one, there's a good crowd there. So people are definitely here for the beer. Um, I've actually one thing I've noticed since kind of hitting them out here is they tend to like their beer a lot sweeter,
Really?
especially their fruity flavors. Or like some of them are like too sweet for me to drink. Too sweet for a beer anyway for me.
Now, is it
But
only fruity flavors, or does it also extend into like chocolate for stouts and stuff? Is it?
I haven't had too many stouts or porters out here. I The only other thing is like anything that has to do with honey maybe is so I know I can think of one specific beer. I can't remember the name of it, but I know the brewery. It's like a honey. I think it's like a honey lager or something like that, or
Mhm.
honey. and it's just like super super sweet. Like basically you're drinking honey. That's how it tastes.
Well, that reminds
Um,
me. Do you remember um, when we went to what's it
no, it's
called?
not Breckenridge. It's one of the breweries in the Springs here. I think it's called Fieldhouse is what the name of the brewery is called.
Do you remember when we? I don't remember what city it was in, but it was near that restaurant that we went and ate at, and we weren't even planning on going to it, but it was the meadery, Maine Meadworks maybe. And
Yeah.
we had like the bridal party come in, and then we just had honey
Right.
sticks.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I really like the honey flavor in like beer. I had
If it's not too powerful, I can definitely go with it. At least the one I have in my mind is just
mhm.
up front, just like super sweet for
I
a
will
beer.
say if you want something that has honey in it that is not super sweet, I know I mentioned it to you the other day whenever we were trying to figure out what we were going to actually talk about since we couldn't find everything. Um, Hop Slam by Bell's. So I just got that. It is expensive, but it is an IPA brewed with honey.
Hmm.
Very good. I gave it a 5. So
Oh wow.
it's a very good IPA. I'm assuming you could find it, but because I think they're from Michigan, but they're a very big brewery, so I'm assuming Bell's
Okay.
is around. I don't know if it was a 12 pack. I don't know if it was a 6 or a 12 pack, but it was like $19 or something. So it was a little more
Yeah.
expensive than I thought it would be, and it was limited. It was like you can only buy 2 of them if you wanted. I only bought one, but they had a
Hmm.
sign. I guess people flocked to it or something. I don't know if anyone in chat's had it before, but I think it's like a yearly release because on Untapped it had like 2021, 2022. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think of this? 3.78 average on Untapped. My friend average on Untapped is a 4.25.
Yeah. I think it's. I think that consensus is a little low. Um, I'm at like a 3.9, 4.0, somewhere around there personally.
What are you going? 3.9 or 4? So I'm putting it in here.
3.95. How about that? Split the middle.
3.95. Okay, I'll give you 3.95. I'm going to go a lot higher than 3.95. I think it's just very, very easy to drink. It's a very clean IPA. It has a nice hazy character to it. I'm gonna go 4.2. I think the 4.2 is fair. I think all my friends are pretty on the mark at 4.25. It's
Yeah.
really, really good. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's what shocks me the most is a 7. Yeah, it's crazy that it's 7.5%. I don't know how it's 7.5%.
Right. Yeah. If I were to kill this 9.2 fluid ounce tall boy tonight, I'd be on my ass all night and won't be able to get to work tomorrow morning.
Yeah. It's definitely a heavy hitter. It's doesn't taste like it though. So, yeah, 4.2 I think is really fair. Now I'm actually interested. I know you won't be able to do this, but I'm interested to compare this to the winter IPA.
Yeah.
The winter IPA called Accumulation. I think some friends on Untapped have also tried it, but I'm gonna pour that now. I do have a screen for it. I'll just shift to it for a second. 3.62 is the consensus on Untapped, so not quite as liked. Which to me makes sense, I think, because it's going to be more bitter, obviously, because it's 70
Right.
IBUs. And the bitter crowd is not one that, oh my good lord. This thing is all foam. This is a worse pour than the last one. I don't know if it's because I'm talking, not really paying attention, or if it's the mason jar, but like I'm gonna have to let it sit for a second to even
Yeah.
pour the rest of this. But yeah, this is a horrible pour. But anyway, I think because it's more bitter, it's harder to find people who like it because a lot of people are probably going to try it thinking, oh, it's going to be an IPA, right? I know when I'm in the store, I hear a lot of people talking about beer and no one ever differentiates between IPAs unless they like really know what they're talking about. I heard a lot of people even this past week. They're like, "What kind of beer do you like? IPAs?" It's like, does that even tell you anything if I say I like IPAs? Maybe it tells you I like a little stronger, a little more bitter, maybe some hoppy character, but there are so many kinds of IPAs. I mean, there's your normal IPA. I mean, there's like, which is the American IPA that we're used to, but there's also IPAs from like England. There's your hazy IPAs, there's your Imperial, there's your hazy Imperial. There are actually dark IPAs, so we're used to IPAs being this sort of light color, but they have IPAs that are like 35 to 40 on the SRM chart, so they're very dark brown, black looking almost. And so when someone says they like IPAs, I guess we've kind of just made a assumption that they like X kind of flavors, but honestly, it doesn't tell you much, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, here's the pour on this one. So a little bit worse, I think, but maybe tonight's just not my night. I don't know. It's next week I'll bring actual pint glasses again. That way I can get some decent pours. I mean, your plan's probably better. Just drink straight from the can. It's you don't have to worry about all the foamy head that's just chilling at the top and wait for it to fall down at all. Have you ever been served a beer that's like super foamy, or no?
Not to the point where I'm like, oh, what is this? Like, get this, re-pour this for me now, type of thing.
Have you ever had to have a beer repoured?
No.
No. So I have had that happen to me. One time I was at my favorite restaurant in the Augusta area, which you know what this is probably.
Favorite restaurant in the Augusta area?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's in Hollowell.
Okay, I can't remember the name of it. Is that one brewery, right?
It's a Quarry Tap Room.
Or tap room? That's right. Okay.
Yeah, so the brewery you're thinking of is what is it?
Kushnock.
Well, that one's in Augusta. That's in like downtown Augusta, but there is a brewery in Hollowell, and they have a sister restaurant down south. Also, what is the name of it? Yeah, do you know what I'm talking? It's right across from Core Taproom, actually. Man, I just can't remember. I'm telling you, my memory is horrible. Yeah, see, Gabe got in.
Mine's gone.
He knew Core. But yeah, one time I was there, and there were two different beers from some brewery. I forget what it was, but one of them was like maybe an IPA of some sort, and one of them was a Hefeweizen. And they bring me a beer, right? And I'm like that's not right. Like I said, what beer is this? Because it's not the beer I ordered. She's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, no, it's not. I don't even have to taste it. I know it's not. I can just smell that it's not. Because I think I ordered the Hefeweizen, and I can tell when it's not a Hefeweizen, especially if you give me an IPA. It's like,
right.
Maybe if you don't know the difference between beers, you'd be like, okay, this
whatever.
Yeah, like this is whatever it is. But that was the only time I can really remember that I had to be like this. I got the beer for free, and I got my other beer too. But yeah, I don't really remember any other time where I've had to actually send something back. I mean, generally people are pretty good at not giving you a scam glass. I think the head's generally been decent size, and if it's not, they pour it out and waste the beer. But not my problem.
Right.
So yeah, this one, it definitely smells sort of less hoppy. So I think if you think about wintertime, kind of muting scents and flavors, and it's just like the cold to me, and this happens in beer too, like when it's colder you don't taste as much of the flavor. That's sort of what this reminds me of compared to the juicy, for sure.
Okay.
It's sort of almost pine coney, you know. It's like a pine cone beer that's kind of thin, maybe. I don't know. Has anyone in chat had this? I don't remember when I looked. I thought some of you did, though. Yeah, so my friend rating is a 4. And they had it actually quite a long time ago. So a guy I go to most of the beer fests that I go to with, he had it back in 2016, gave it a 4. Says a nice light IPA, light on citrus, setting it apart from a lot of IPAs. Seems sessionable. I'm going to test that theory right now. Yeah, it has a very citrusy character to it. You know, you can tell there's some lemon, lime, orange, citrus, something in there. I don't know what it is. Probably orange, but I'm assuming it comes from the citra hops. And yeah, it is spicy. Like there's some sort of spice in there. I think a lot of beers. On the second episode, we actually had a beer that, well, I had it. We had some issues finding the same beers, but we had some spicy beers on that one, and they were like winter ales.
Yeah.
I feel like winter is just a time of spice, whether it's in desserts or drinks. It's just, you know, eggnog, snickerdoodles, whatever. It's just spice time. I don't know. Maybe it feels more homey or something. But whenever I try it compared to the hazy, definitely less flavor. I mean, I can see why it's a little bit lower rated. I think 3.62 is probably fair. I think it's pretty good. I might rate a little bit higher. I think my rating is going to be a 3.8 on it. It's good, but it's not. It doesn't hit the tier of like this is a really really good IPA that I'd recommend to everybody. It's like if you want to try it, good. If not, whatever. There is a comment on here that says refreshing low IBU IPA, but it's not a low IBU IPA. It's a pretty high IBU IPA actually, but it doesn't taste as bitter as you would expect. Let's see. Feels like a lying down in a nice patch of snow after skiing and getting sweaty, and then peeing your pants. So.
Good. Yeah, it's a good way to describe it, I guess. Huh?
I mean, yeah, it's a definitely interesting way to describe it. And this was okay. So this was at their North Carolina location. Yeah, I think it's a good IPA. I don't think there's anything too amazingly special about it, but it's definitely good. I would drink it again, but I'm not going to seek it out. I think it's just kind of it's kind of I guess to me. So yeah, those are all of our beers. I know it kind of sucks that you didn't have the fourth one, but out of all these 4, what is your favorite? I mean, I guess we rated the IPA as the best, but
yeah, I think flavor wise, I'd go with the Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze. But that Mountain Time would just be easier to drink. I think like if I'm looking at a cooler, I'm like, all right, I want like a 6-pack for tonight. I'd probably pick up the Mountain Time before I'd pick up that Voodoo Ranger. But yeah, I like the Voodoo Ranger better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think the Mountain Time is something that should be substituted into any cooler that has Coors, Budweiser, Miller. I guess I said Coors. What else do we have? Heineken, Corona, anything that's Michelob, Yingling. If you have those in your cooler, switch it out for. Where's my can? Switch it out for this guy. This is where it's at. I mean, I think that the Mountain Time is just such a crisp and clean beer. It was probably my favorite in terms of getting to try it because the Juicy IPA is objectively, I think, a better beer, but it is also kind of more usual, because everybody does an IPA. Everybody wants to have a juicy.
And the Voodoo Ranger is one of their bigger ones too, just in general.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I think the Mountain Time it kind of hits this niche of like I would drink the Mountain Time, whereas I'm not gonna go and buy a lot of these other lagers, right? Like the Mountain Time, I think is really good. It doesn't have, like I said, a lot of the underlying bad flavors. I don't have any
Hmm.
more of it, or I would try it now that it's warmed up more. So I guess maybe I have to try another one day. But yeah, it was probably my favorite to try out of all of these because I think the IPAs are good, but they're nothing like Hop Slam, right? They're nothing like
Yeah.
triple IPA that we will feature at some point on Lagunitas Day. Uh, they they're just kind of I don't know. Even though I gave it a 4.2, I mean I think it's really good, but
No, it's good IPA, and I think it's easier to drink on the IPA side of things a lot of times, or kind of like one and done for me at least.
mhm. Yeah, I don't know of a time at home at least where I just drink an IPA more than just the IPA, right? If I'm out and about trying beers, then yeah, I mean I'll have more than just one IPA potentially. But if I'm at home and I just go to the fridge, I'm like, what kind of beer do I want? If I get an IPA, I don't usually go back for another IPA. It's just
Right.
like it's kind of a lot, I guess. What do you think overall, New Belgium? They recommended? They're not recommended?
Yeah, I think they're a good way to get into craft brewing or craft brewery. You know, I think they're one of the bigger ones, obviously, but um, if you're
So
looking
would
to
you,
get away from the
on a scale, right? So in terms of like all of craft beer, would you say like New Belgium is kind of the gateway, but they're not as good as most other craft brewers, or
I think it's a good way to put it. Yeah,
okay, yeah. I mean, I think a lot
yeah,
of the bigger ones. I mean, obviously they have some really good stuff, and one of the bigger ones, Lagunitas, I love. I mean, I think they're better than just a gateway. But yeah, New Belgium to me, especially like with Fat Tire, it's definitely like appealing to the masses on a lot of their stuff, and they do have some interesting things. I mean, they have a lot of beer. I'd really like to try some of their other ones. Like they have a triple out that I have not tried. That citrus one that I was talking about, I think would be really fun to try.
hmm
Um, but yeah, like their main stock is just kind of mediocre, I guess.
average. Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I think to answer the question of if we love it, I don't love New Belgium, but I like New Belgium, and I think they do a good job at marketing their stuff. I mean, I think the stuff they do is really cool. Like, this I think is really cool. The fact that at beer school they came and let us try a lot of sours.
yeah. Their B Corp, which is really cool too.
Yeah, I don't think you see that a lot either. Even though there are a lot of breweries that do focus on like sustainability and things, I think the fact that they actually have a legal setup that enables them to do what they wanted to do initially is pretty cool. Because
Yeah,
I don't really know all the stuff they've done, but yeah, I mean, I think the stuff with Fat Tire and their other sustainability efforts. I mean, I think they're probably one of the forefront people in the beer industry. I mean, I know Lagunitas has a
yeah.
very
Them probably Sierra Nevada would be up there too. Like they kind of. I think they both got started in the 90-ish, 90s type of area, early
yeah,
2000s. You know.
and Lagunitas is a similar thing. Actually, one of the stories I'll just give a little spoiler. We will talk about all these on Lagunitas Day, but um, Sierra Nevada kind of had the pale ale market cornered, right? Like they were the pale ale, and then Lagunitas was like, well, we'll just be the IPA. And so I think like the Lagunitas IPA is the archetypal IPA that you go for, right? Like if someone's like, I want to try an IPA that is representative of the category as a whole, I'm gonna say Lagunitas first.
Right.
You know, and Lagunitas they have I don't know, Gabe. Do you remember what the water ratio was? Wasn't it like 1.5 gallons to a gallon or 2.5 gallons? It was something like really low because I remember I asked Baxter Brewing in Maine. I took a brewery tour. Were you there for that?
No, I went separately.
Okay. So I was there and I asked him, I was like, what is your water to beer ratio? And I think they were at like 6 or something. Yeah. So 4 times lower. Yeah, that probably it's like 6 or 8 is probably the average somewhere in there. And yeah, they were like 1.5, 2 ish, something like that. So they were really low. And I'd be curious to know what New Belgium's is. I mean, I'm assuming it's lower than the average, but who knows? I didn't see any of that on their website. So, any final thoughts today? Any observations? Any facts about Colorado brewing and brewers that we didn't get to?
No, I'll have to go check out their actual brewery in Fort Collins. I'll have to go hit it at some point and see how they are. I guess on the spot there, but
How long of a drive is that? It's like
probably about an hour and a half ish, hour 45 from where I'm at now.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
because that's north of you.
yeah, it's
It's like
north of
by
Denver
Den.
even.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I know when I was in Denver, I did go to see some of the brewing. Because Miller has theirs in Golden. Is that right?
of course.
Yeah, they like. Because I want to say it wasn't very interesting because we just drove by. But let's see, the Fort Collins Brewery is super cool. Tons of fun outdoor activities and it's huge.
Yeah, that's what I saw on their website. They had a bunch of pictures. Kind of want to go check it out at some point here soon. I guess since they have a lot of outdoor activities, I'll probably wait till it gets a little warmer now. But
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely let me know how it is. I mean, I do, as long as everything works out, I do plan on coming to Colorado this year. So
yeah,
Great American Beer Fest, hoping that it happens. Should be October, early October. And if you want to go, let me know. Normally, I
yeah,
go to the brewing session. So the way they have it is they have, or at least last time, it was like 4 different sessions. 3 of them are like 4.5 hours, but they're for everybody. And then one of them is a private. You have to be a member of the brewing association, and it's like 4 hours long, but there are a lot fewer people, and it's really cool. Uh, Definitely would recommend Great American Beer Fest. I think when we went last time, Robbie and I had hit 104 tastes. Now, granted, I didn't feel well during the middle of it, so Robbie finished some of mine, but it it was a lot to say the least. It
yeah.
definitely bolstered my unique number on Untapped. But have you gone to any beer fests since like Maine?
Yeah, so for a while, I guess COVID kind of stopped it at this point, but Philly always had a beer festival at the Philadelphia Zoo.
Hmm.
So they would have like tents and all these brews come from pretty much everywhere, and they would set up all around the zoo. So you get to walk around. This was at night too, so you get to walk around, look at the animals, and
That's really
drink
cool.
some beer. Yeah, it's probably my favorite beer fest that I've ever been to. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Great American doesn't have animals unless you count some of the people going crazy, but it it's huge. I mean, I remember we were in line waiting for them to like let us out, and there were so many rows like covered. It was like 10 people or more in each row, and they're like all the way down. I mean, I don't know how many breweries there were, but like I said, I mean, I tried 104 things, and that was not
Right.
even near all of them. Normally, we just tried like 2 per booth, and so it's probably close to half, maybe, but who
Sure.
knows? But yeah, so definitely I'll let you know about that, and if you want to go, let me
Yeah.
know, and we can include you. So
Yep.
the flight paddles are amazing. Also, you tried to buy them; they went on sale. Yeah, I mean, well, you might be able to find them somewhere. I've never seen them, but uh, yeah, some places have some really cool flight paddles. Although sometimes they make it hard to carry the stuff because like if you get the flight up at the bar and you have to carry it back to a table, sometimes it spills a little bit. I like the ones where it's kind of like there are holes and they put the glasses in, so it's kind of like hanging through. But yeah, and that's really all I have tonight. I mean, it was a very taste heavy episode. Do you have anything else you want to add? Do you want to plug anything? I mean, I know you're not big on socials,
No,
but
my life's pretty boring, so I don't really have too many things to to share. But I appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
yeah, I mean, I'll definitely have you back. I mean, I'll let you know about the main thing, and you know, it's always good to talk. I know we don't talk as much as we had when we lived in Maine, but
For
it's always
sure.
good to
Yeah.
catch up. So there's a thing that we do. I don't know if you watched the end of any episode,
No, I have
but
not yet.
but
No.
we close out the show with a little co-op saying of "Don't worry, you're happy." So once again, everybody, thank you for joining. Thanks for hanging out. Definitely recommend trying any of the beers that you thought looked cool. You saw what we rated them. Definitely would like to know what you rate them. You can find me on Untapped. Maybe we'll find Justin on Untapped at a future date again. But as always, don't worry.
Don't worry.
This is you.
Be
Beer
happy.
happy. So okay.
Oh, I'm the second part.
Yeah, you're the
Okay.
second part. I mean, you want to do it again? All right. So we're live, so we're not editing that out. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we'll do it again. Okay. So
I'll eat it. I'll eat it.
as always, don't worry.
Be happy.
Yeah, beer happy. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a good rest of the night.